G'day, welcome back to the show. Daryl Nicholson, Toowoomba 4358 TV, and this segment is brought to you by Globetrotters Travel and Cruise. And how appropriate that I crossed to Mexico City and see, I think I'm in Mexico City with Farmer Gregie. How are you, Gregie?
That's a little bit global, isn't it, Dazza? Well, we're actually not. We're not in Mexico City. Right. I am in Mexico.
Yep.
I'm in a big country town. It's a little bit bigger than Toowoomba. Yep. In a way, it kind of reminds me of Toowoomba in that, there's a couple of 100,000 people here, but it's got a real country town feel about it.
Yep.
And it's a city called Guanajuato. Guanajuato City is actually very famous, originally founded as a silver mining town. And this region used to supply nearly 60% of the world's silver. About 300 or 400 years ago.
Yeah, right. Yep, good.
Yeah, so Guanajuato being the silver capital, but these days it's also a pretty popular tourist destination. And as you know, Daryl, I've been sharing my journey on my Farmer Gregie Facebook page and Instagram, and this town is incredibly colourful. I mean, the buildings are all painted different colours, and it's got a lot of history to it, being settled by the Spanish in the 1400s, early 1500s, and then a lot of colonial. It's got a real old European feel about it, because you'd think you could be walking down the streets of Paris or Rome or in Athens with some of the architecture and the buildings, and a lot of original buildings still here that were built 400 plus years ago.
Wow.
Just incredible.
Yep.
We don't really see that sort of thing much in Australia, do we?
No, we don't. So, mate, what made you decide, you had For Real Milk, and what made you decide to part with your interest in that, or you still might have an interest in it, but what made you decide to pack up and leave Australia and go over to Mexico?
I guess it was a interesting chain of events over time. But over the last 5 years, I guess it's been a very big challenge. The family farm, the dairy industry, as I've shared a lot about the dairy industry, it's had its challenges, and then entering the retail space, the milk market is pretty cutthroat. So while I had a big vision to educate the consumer, to reconnect the consumer with the farmer, and to really bring them to a place of wanting to spend more money on their milk, and pay what milk is worth. And to a point, I guess I achieved that. I generated a very big following on social media.
You definitely did.
Since the birth of For Real Milk in 2013. The year before that, Farmer Gregie started hosting farm tours on our family farm.
That's right.
In 2012, and there was nearly 30,000 followers across all the social media platforms. And I think a lot of them, what I said and what I was sharing was resonating with them to a point that they were supporting Farmer Gregie as much as they were supporting For Real Milk. And I've probably seen that since I kind of have parted ways, but not completely, with For Real Milk. And yet a lot of people still want to keep following my journey, because that's what I started sharing 10 years ago, was my story. And my story is still going. As long as I'm alive and kicking, I'll have a story to tell. So, but to be honest, Daryl, we got to a point between the farm and the factory. The financial pressures, we're just becoming so incredibly difficult. I have battled with depression on and off, conversation, and these, respectfully and lovingly, the oldies on the farm, my mum and dad, my auntie and uncle, two of them now in their 80s, two of them are in their 70s, and they were all still working full time. And, we couldn't find a way to financially relieve that workload. Everybody was pulling in the same direction for me.
Okay.
You know, it was my baby, it was my idea, and that started to become very uncomfortable for me.
Okay.
You know, that's not fair. It's
Yeah.
not. It was never really all about me, and it's not fair for that sort of pressure to be put on my family members.
Mhm.
So the decision was made actually 3 years ago, and we had been actively seeking either an investor or a buyer
Mhm.
for the whole operation, farm and factory, and it took us 3 years to find that person.
Yep. Yep.
And that finally happened last year, and the sale of the property settlement happened in February this year.
Okay.
So we were very fortunate to find the buyer with the right intention. They wanted to keep operating the farm and the factory. A lot of people were worried they're going to lose their milk. For Real Milk's gone, and of course the rumours do the rounds, and a lot of people believe that. But For Real Milk is still alive and well. And I honestly, long-time family friends of ours bought the farm, and I genuinely hope that they can take it to bigger and better places than what I could.
Excellent.
And that it will live on. So, I still feel strongly connected to For Real Milk. And their family continues operations on our farm.
Beautiful.
To this day. I mean, they were also dairy farmers, and they've shifted their cows from the local region to our farm. So they did, and they bought 3 more robots, and they're generational family farmers.
Yep.
And there's a lot of synergies. And the offer was made to me to stay involved in whatever capacity I wanted to. But to be honest, as I could see, that they were coming in and to take things on. If you've grown up in a family business and you've kind of been your own boss all your life, I think there was going to be some challenges for me to be a part of a team that I wasn't leading anymore. And that's no disrespect to the new owners in any way.
No.
That's actually recognizing my own limitations.
Yep.
More than it being about them.
Yep. So, mate, when you jumped on the plane, when you jumped on the plane to go to Mexico, and tourism's back on the agenda, and airfares planes are up in the air, were there many people on the plane heading to Mexico when you were on board?
Yeah, to be honest, there was hardly a spare seat in the whole plane. And I had a couple of stops on the way, so they hopped on a couple of different planes. But they were loaded. I was very surprised. I was kind of thinking, the plane might be half full.
Yep.
It was like 95% plus to capacity.
Okay, that's excellent. I'm down here at the moment at Globetrotters Travel. I'm answering the phone, and Ben, my friend, has got a coffee shop, which you might hear someone's making a coffee. Luke, he's running the shop with me. He's got travel mugs as well. But Ben has gone to Italy, and I'm looking after the shop for a couple of weeks. And I thought this is an opportunity where we could talk to some people who've travelled, like yourself, and find out what is going on. And I'm going to be really truthful here, I don't want to do anything till 2024. I don't want to get in an aeroplane and travel overseas at the moment until I really feel comfortable. And I take my hat off to someone like yourself who's made that challenge and done that. And you've had a few little hiccups. You're unvaccinated, and I'm double vaccinated, and I got the booster, and I regret that. I regret getting the booster. Ben definitely regrets getting the booster because it inflamed his heart, and he's on medication now for the next couple of months. And he developed a very serious case of tonsillitis, so he regrets getting the booster. But anyhow, it's all done for me now, and I've had some checkups, and I'm all good. But I definitely won't be getting the 4th one. But your journey of vaccination, unvaccinated, did it cause any problems getting into Mexico?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest challenges we've all faced in the last couple of years is not being allowed to talk openly about these challenges that we're facing or that are forced on us. You know, like I still believe very strongly in freedom of choice in a free country, in a free world. And part of the reason I'm not vaccinated is because I'm very pig-headed like that. I'm not going to be told what to do. I'm not in fear of the virus. I think the virus poses less threats to us than the vaccine, which, as a lot of people are aware, is an experimental drug. You know, it's still in the experimental phase. And so for me, you know, it was just my personal choice. And then to be told that I can't in Australia, this was in only December last year, that I was told I can't have a beer with my mates at the golf club after to a restaurant. I can't take my boy. What kind of a world is this? How did Australia become a communist country without an election? You know, we've got an election coming soon, but we went 2 years and we went from a free country to a communist country. And it's like, how is that even possible? So without getting too political, I don't really want to become political on this issue.
No.
I don't care which side of politics anyone comes from. I'm really about freedom and a fair go for everyone. You know, I always thought that's what Australia was about. So in a way, you know, that I battled depression on and off during the last couple of years because of some of these frustrations, because of lockdowns and mask mandates and vaccine mandates, and then you weren't allowed to talk about it. You know, you say anything on social media, you get absolutely smashed. So I think it's healthy to have conversation and respectfully. Always respectfully. You know, one of the challenges I think I've faced in recent times, Daryl, is when you get, you know, to a point of having a fairly sizable social media following, they're not always going to love you. Like, all of the people are not going to love you all of the time. You know, they might have been drawn to you because of some aspect. Some of them, that was because of Farmer Gregie or For Real Milk. And then I have thoughts and opinions and insights on other aspects of life too. And I have shared a lot of them over time. And then all of a sudden there's conflict because, well, that's not what we came here for. And I guess I've been told a little bit in the last couple of years to stay in my lane, whatever that is. You know, I mean, life is a pretty winding road. There's not just a one lane country road. It's she goes all over the place. So I'm for tracks that I go on. But I guess when bringing it back to coming to Mexico, that was a bit of a challenge for me because I'm not vaccinated. I literally had to ask the Australian government for their permission for me to leave Australia because I wasn't allowed to actively participate as a citizen of Australia. You know, I wasn't allowed to be on a social committee or a sporting committee or actively assimilate with my kids in community. But I wasn't allowed to leave Australia either. You know, this is why I think we should talk about any sense to anybody, you know, no matter what your opinion is on what's happened for the last 2 years. And I actually got denied permission to leave Australia 6 times. 6 times. Before they finally said, okay, you can get on a plane and get out of this country. But if you leave this country, you're not allowed to come back for at least 3 months. And you're not allowed to ask the Australian government for any help when you're overseas because we will not support you. Or because I'm not vaccinated. So, you know, a big part, like you just said about, you know, your own issues and Ben, my mum and dad are both vaccinated. They both had some serious health issues that was it the vaccine, was it not? I think a lot of people are finding, is it too coincidental? You know, that issues have arisen post-vaccination. And if I'm not at risk from a virus, why would I want to put myself in harm's way potentially with an experimental treatment. Like that's a no-brainer to me. That's an easy decision. I don't need to make that decision.
Yeah.
So I finally was allowed to leave Australia, and a part of the reason, and I'm happy to talk about any of this with you too. I know we've both had a bit of a rocky journey in the love life over recent years, and it's can be pretty brutal, can't it? But
yeah.
I've been chatting with a really nice girl from the Philippines, and because of my decision not to get vaccinated, I couldn't go to the Philippines and couldn't bring her to Australia. I worked out we could spend time together in Mexico.
Yep.
So that was kind of the grand plan. There's freedom in Mexico. There is no green tick. I think it's all opened up in Australia since I've left again now too. I mean, they keep shifting the goalposts. Like whatever they're doing now, wait 3 months and there'll be something different for you to do in 3 months' time.
Well, you can work in hospitality now unvaccinated. You can play in venues. If you're a musician, you can now play unvaccinated. So
unbelievable.
And look, I grew up with vaccines.
2 years ago, 2 years ago, you couldn't be a musician and earn any money no matter what. But you could play football and that was all good. So it's like, you could go to a football game and watch the game, but you couldn't go to a music festival and watch the musicians. These kind of things really grated on me over time.
Yep.
And so coming to Mexico, I was allowed to leave. My intention was always to come home to Australia. I hoped that things would open up in Australia. I still don't trust any level of government in Australia to not change whatever they're doing now. Like they've given me no reason to trust them over the last 2 years.
Yep.
And so that is a bit of a concern for me still.
Yep.
I want to be able to come home to Australia, and I want to be able to proudly call Australia my home.
Yep.
But at the moment, I got a bit of a love-hate relationship with Australia for what they did to me, and many, not just me, millions of people who felt the way I felt about what was going on.
Yep.
So it's, but at the same time, I'm very conscious of not letting that get me down. I mean, you can focus on the negative, and I had a pretty big health scare in December. I know that was leading into medical apartheid when I was not going to be allowed to be a part of society.
Yep.
And I was I guess I was engaging in conversations and sharing a lot of information, and I had a diagnosis of severe hypertension.
Okay.
Now, as we get a little bit older, we check our blood pressure, and mine was 220 over 140.
Wow.
So for anyone who watches this, if they check their blood pressure, they'll realize that is scary high. That is not where you want to be. And the doctor said to me, so I'm a big believer in natural therapies and remedies and, herbal. I'm not a fan of big pharmaceutical. I don't take any prescription medication. I'm 52 years old. I'm not the perfect human specimen, but I'm conscious of, maintaining health through natural means to the best of my ability. But my doctor said in December, and I said to my doctor, I know that's high, but I know I can fix this, because I got a bit lazy again last year, battling with a lot of the frustrations and a bit of the black dog, just nipping at the heels all the time. And I got back to drinking a bit too much beer, and I got lazy, and I was eating junk food because I'm just a bachelor, wasn't, being a good boy, going home, cooking. I was too lazy. And you start eating junk food 5 times a week and drinking, 2 or 3 beers a night for no reason. And all of a sudden your blood pressure spirals out of control. And the doctor said, I'm giving you 2 choices. He said, I'm going to prescribe you a medication for your blood pressure. You will take that medication, or I'm checking you into hospital today because you are at risk of having a stroke at any minute. I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll take the medication. And I took it very seriously. I mean, I joke around about things, and I cracked a couple of jokes with the doctor, and he didn't see the funny side of me joking about a situation like this. I guess that's just my way of coping or dealing. But I stopped drinking beer completely. That week, no beer, no coffee, no tea, no caffeine, no junk food. Like, cooked everything from scratch at home. and started getting out, doing a bit of walking. And I quickly brought my blood pressure back down to 128 over 89 in a week. And he was amazed, you know, how's that possible? And well, everything was good with my blood. Everything, you know, I did all the right things. And I had told him at the time that the medication will be temporary. But he said, well, I highly recommend you stay on it for 6 months.
Okay.
Anyway, because it was urgent, I just had to see a doctor, any doctor, and my usual GP for the last 12 years is usually, you know, he's booked out a week, two weeks in advance. He's very popular. So I got the new kid on the block that didn't have any bookings, and that's fine. He didn't know any of my history, but that's fine. So he tried to prescribe me a second medication, which I said I'm not going to take, and I didn't. And I was still not feeling great. I mean, you know, I'm talking a few weeks down the track, I wasn't feeling great. I was still lightheaded, dizzy, lethargic. I had no energy. I was, even though my blood pressure was pretty good. So I got to go back to see my usual doctor, and my GP got blood work done again. Everything was good with my blood test. He said, except for the liver function.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 8 weeks later. My liver function, he said, to explain to you what it looks like, your liver function looks like somebody who's been drinking 8 beers a day for 20 years.
Oh, gee.
And, you know, at that time I was having a few beers, but I was having like 4 or 5 or 6 beers a week.
Yep.
And I said, well, the only thing that I really changed that could make that sort of a change is the medication that you guys put me on.
Yep.
Like, you know, your doctor mate put me on this medication, and he said, okay, let's look at what the medication is.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, okay, that medication has a known side effect on the liver.
Okay.
So here I am, potentially going to die of a stroke, get put on medication that in 8 weeks destroys my liver.
Oh, no.
So he said, stop taking that immediately. He put me on to another one, lowest dose possible. And, you know, only a month later, my blood pressure was so low. And I said to him, I wanted to stop taking the medication. He said, I'm happy for you to stop taking that medication. You keep doing what you've been doing. I brought my blood pressure down to 110 over 77.
Good.
And he said, there's no need for you to be on medication.
Okay.
So, you know, I guess that's where I'm coming from. And when we start talking about a vaccine for something that's not really threatening me, and, you know, the same as taking blood pressure meds, a lot of people today, and I don't want to speak negatively about anyone making decisions that they feel are best for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people say, just give me the pill. Like, I don't want to change my poor lifestyle choices. Just let me keep living this terribly unhealthy life and give me the pill, because that's the solution. And for me, that's not the solution. That's the Band-Aid.
That's
you know, that's just trying to cover up the problem. Band-Aids don't work on cancer. Like, you got to get serious about some stuff.
That's right.
And so that's part of what I've been sharing since I've been here in Mexico. You know, I've been walking I've been averaging 12,000 steps a day all around town, downtown, up around the hills, and I think, you know, that kind of stuff is really important.
Right. Okay, mate. What I'm going to do, I've got a customer here, but I do want to catch up again in a couple of weeks. People, follow Farmer Gregie. He's got a new handle, Truth Seeker Gregie. So we'll talk more about that in our next episode. But I'd really love to follow up in a couple of weeks and just talk some more about your adventures there. But look, travel's on the agenda. As Greg was saying, people are traveling. The plane was quite full. He got through unvaccinated, and he's having quite an adventure. But if you want to follow Gregie, just go to Farmer Gregie is your Facebook page, and they can follow your journeys. And I want to thank you for your time today.
Correct. On Facebook and Instagram, Dazza. I'm on, but no, I really appreciate the chat. We've been, and keen to do another one whenever you're ready.
But I look forward to more adventures, mate. And I've had a great time catching up. We were talked about doing this months ago. We've finally done it.
Thanks. Mate, thanks for doing the live on the Anzac Day parade the other day. I'm on the other side of the world over here on Anzac Day, and it was fantastic. You know, I got to just jump on my laptop and watch the parade from Toowoomba.
That's great.
And it's always such an important day to so many Aussies. So,
mate, I'm
thanks,
getting,
mate. We'll talk soon.
People are stopping me in the streets and thanking me for that, and I'm loving it. I love this community. Thanks for your time today, mate. We'll catch up in a couple of weeks, and I'm loving your adventures. So thanks for your time.
And go the Broncos. The Broncos are back, mate. Go the Broncos.
There were these Maori guys in the gaming room last time. They were yahooing when the Broncos, and they won. So they're either good or they're either bad. But let's hope they're good. So go the Broncos.
Keep it going. Let's hope.
Yeah. Okay, mate. Take care. I'm Daryl Nicholson
mate,
with
talk
Farmer
soon.
Gregie, Toowoomba 4350 TV, reaching out around the world. Take care. Thanks, Greg.